One of two things is going to happen sometime between June and the end of the year. Either Diablo 4 is going to be celebrated or widely celebrated as one of the most successful games of the year, or I'm going to look like an idiot. Either way, come follow me on Twitch, come hang out. I'm going to be giving away free copies of Diablo 4 throughout the entire Server Slam weekend, as well as the early access launch. We've already given out like 30 plus copies during the last beta test weekends. It's kind of a lot, but it is my way of saying thank you to you guys for hitting that totally free, takes 2 seconds of your time, subscription button right there. So, I mean, I feel like it's a pretty good trade-off. You subscribe to my channel free, I give out more free copies. Anyways, let's begin the video. If we ignore history and we just take a look at this game at face value, this game is pretty damn good and it's got a lot of potential. Yes, history is important. Yes, there are big question marks. Yes, this game could absolutely flop. But based off of everything we've seen so far and what we're expecting to see, this game is hands down one of the best games we've had in years. And yes, that is a testament to what we've actually had in the past 5 years. When it comes to brand new titles in the online RPG space, we've had what? Genshin Impact, Lost Ark, maybe Honkai that's just recently came out when it comes to some of the biggest and quote unquote best we've had in their respective categories. Can't even name an ARPG that's separated itself or even comes close to Path of Exile. Face it, Diablo 4 is not only the biggest name we've had in recent history, but it's also looking like it's going to be the best. Maybe it's not goated, maybe it doesn't even reach the level of Path of Exile's success, but the best title in recent years, the best new title in recent years, definitely. I genuinely believe that this game has an extremely strong foundation that no other game that's released in the past 5 years even comes close to. Despite what other people are saying in regards to Blizzard crashing it to the ground, I'm pretty optimistic. So let me break this down for you piece by piece. We're going to start this off with the one thing that is universally agreed upon: the graphics. Disagree with everything else in this video, fine, but if you think the graphics are bad in Diablo 4, you're probably living in some future AI land. I'm not saying Diablo 4's graphics are groundbreaking by any means, but the game does look good. As an ARPG, it's probably the best in the genre. The only thing I would say that doesn't look great would be the actual character model faces, but that's only in comparison to MMOs. For an ARPG, again, it's the best, considering ARPGs don't even give you that option. For those reasons, graphically, this game gets a 4 out of 5 in my book. I'll be honest, when I first saw the combat in this game, it looked kind of bland, especially when looking at the barbarian perform skills in the trailers. Most of the attacks didn't look flashy at all. They actually looked like a bunch of regular attack animations. However, after actually playing the game, my opinion on the combat has completely changed. First of all, skills actually do get flashier the more powerful they become, but the impact of each skill you use, you really feel. I'm not sure if it's the audio or animation, but using skills just feel good. They feel impactful. In Diablo 4, it's a perfect balance of feeling like you're running around, blowing shit up with an overpowered build, only it's done a little slower and more methodical compared to other ARPGs. You look at the combat and you see actual combat, not just a bunch of flashing lights where you don't know what the hell is going on. Combat separates itself from other ARPG titles, and for that reason, I give the combat a 5 out of 5. Builds and itemization. Now, this one is a really big one for me. Now, we still have to see a lot more, especially at the launch of the game through the end game, but the foundation for the itemization in Diablo 4, I feel, is perfect. And no, Diablo 4 by no means is redefining anything here. They've just done a great job establishing a simple system that's not overwhelming and easy to learn for new players while maintaining enough complexity to keep long-term veterans engaged. Now again, the latter to that statement does need to be seen. Maybe we get to the end game and it's a complete shit show. But one, the foundation is solid, and two, issues like that can be fixed. PoE is widely known to have insanely good itemization and build making, but how many of you actually quit because of that very reason? Probably a lot of you. In Diablo 4, outside of the stats you have on your gear, as every game has, you get a very straightforward skill tree. You have legendary effects that you can apply to your gear, unique items, which are your super rare gear pieces that drop, and a paragon board, which is actually really simple to understand. And within those, you have a lot of potential build variety at play. A system that will give us a lot of options, but is within a simple to understand structure that isn't punishing to brand new players trying to get into the game. There are two potential issues here. The first being endgame scaling and gearing being a shit show because certain items, skills, builds are vastly overpowered, essentially negating all the build crafting. The second being the repercussions of the respec system. They mentioned the drying cement with respecs as you reach the end game, where it gets increasingly more expensive, but it is clear that you can indeed respec. You just won't be able to respec every 5 minutes like you did in Diablo 3. One of the potential issues with respecs costing a lot of money is that it could force the player into starting all over just to try something else. I don't believe that's going to be the case, however, because it's pretty clear that tinkering with your build, even at the end game, is part of the process, especially when getting ready for the final pinnacle boss encounter. They mentioned this in one of their latest interviews. It's essentially like this. In Diablo 3, you had a build for every type of content in the game, respecing left and right. In Diablo 4, you have one build that you'll settle on, but with the option to respec it if you want. I hope that made sense. All things considered, if they are able to nail the endgame build and itemization, this is easily a 5 out of 5. The biggest question mark with Diablo 4 is the endgame. In case you're new to the scene, the vast majority of the endgame is going to be around the Nightmare Dungeons and Hell Tides. Of course, you have your other vertical and horizontal content as well, but I won't be going over that in this video because the bulk or the majority of the loop is going to be revolving around these two. Nightmare Dungeons are pretty straightforward, dungeons that get progressively more difficult. A lot will depend on how fun and engaging these will be. On paper, they look pretty good, but the bigger excitement here for me is the endgame pinnacle boss that's supposedly extremely challenging and will require all players to maximize their gear and build on top of learning the fight to defeat it. Unlike other ARPGs, we also get MMO-like features such as Hell Tides and world bosses that are added to our endgame loop. These timed events can really change up the pacing a bit, breaking up the monotony. Outside of the seasons, which will play a massive factor in the replayability of Diablo 4, this is pretty much it. Keep in mind, all games, whether it's an MMORPG or an ARPG, really don't have like 20 different content categories waiting for you at the end game. It ends up being a few different types of dungeons or raids that you farm outside of whatever horizontal or social content that's available. With Diablo 4, the end game that we're expecting could be fun or it could be boring. We know it's coming, and at least on paper, it's something that could be extremely fun and replayable. Since the endgame is completely in the air and we have no idea what the seasons and the endgame loop will actually feel like, despite knowing what's coming, I'll refrain from actually giving this section a rating because it could legitimately be a 1 out of 5 and it could legitimately be a 5 out of 5. One of the biggest question marks with Diablo 4 is none other than Blizzard themselves. Creating a super fun game, then dropping the ball is not something many would call abnormal. However, if we look at the Diablo 4 team and take things at face value once again, judge them based off of what we've seen so far, there's no way you can say that they've done anything less than a good job so far. All I've seen is a team that seems to be passionate about their game, a team that's shown to be extremely good with communication, and based off of the most recent update news, a team that actually listens to its community and works fast to implement changes and fixes to their game. You can disagree with some of the game design, and their journey so far certainly hasn't been perfect, but what you can't say is that this team has done a bad job so far. When you have a game with a solid foundation and a dev team that's on the positive side of the fence, it's hard not to be optimistic about things, especially if you're someone that's very much looking forward to the game. Sure, Blizzard has disappointed many people in the past, and you're not wrong for not trusting them, for being skeptical about this game's future, but also consider WoW's latest expansion, Dragonflight. Also consider the final season of Diablo 3. also consider Diablo 2 Resurrected. Consider the recent past as well. If you take all things into consideration, I think this game is worth getting excited about. What's the worst thing that could happen? You get disappointed and you play another game. Now, obviously, this is from the perspective of someone that's clearly on the bandwagon, planning on maining this game. It's biased for sure. I'm being optimistic that Blizzard will deliver this one. Maybe not at launch, but in due time for sure. I genuinely believe that Diablo 4 is the best new online RPG we've seen in recent years. Fortunately for you guys though, you'll be able to hear what other content creators rate this game on a scale 1 to 10, point blank, full transparency, in an upcoming video that I will be publishing very, very soon. Stay subscribed to the channel so that you guys know when that video drops. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.